Share my screen. Okay, and Dr. Revis, whenever you want to get started, it's 7 o'clock.
It is 7 o'clock, and welcome, guys, to week 7. And I hope you are having a little sigh of relief because you have brought closure to the AAPSL or will bring closure this week and get it submitted to us to review and then turn it in. And then you are on to the evaluator. So that's what we're going to spend a lot of time on tonight, making sure you know what to do to get it to the evaluator by Sunday evening. And then Dr. Hamilton's going to talk a little bit about more information about your internship, Competency Folio, and Taskstream. And then we're just going to do a brief overview of the AAPTEL Task 1. So you can be thinking on that. And the first task is a lot of research, so you could go ahead and be working on that when you get that APSL behind you. So welcome. You've made it through, I think, the tough part of the semester.
I do too.
And we are all downhill from now.
But that doesn't mean that evidence two, you can't relax. Now you've still got a lot of work to do, and we'll talk about that. But uh, remember that next week is spring break for the university. It's not necessarily spring break for graduate school. It's only for underclassmen. However, we have always, it's traditionally, we have allowed that week to be a week that you don't have to come online with us so that you can catch up on the work that you're working on. And this is the week that next week will be the week that you have to turn your final things in to Dr. Hamilton, which she'll talk about that uh, tonight. And then I know how some of you like to work ahead, or we know how some of you like to work ahead. And we do advise you to. This gives you a chance with us going over task one, or the overview of the APTEL and going over task one. This gives you time to get ahead of the game when we come back week 9 face to face. So that's where we are. Dr. Revis, if do you want me to the step by step that I put? You want me to pull it up for you?
Yeah, let's look at that. Is it
Uh,
on? It was on
yeah.
our agenda.
Well, I've got it. I pulled it up too as a document. Let me.
Okay.
Uh, there it is. So
So you're getting ready this week to put everything together. And so Dr. Stedman did a really, really strong warning last week about do not, do not turn anything in to turn it in until we tell you to, because you only get one shot at turn it in. So we're going to talk about how to put all your APSL together. You will put all your tasks, your 5 tasks of the APSL together. You'll start with page. Then you have a section for school profile. And then it starts with task 1. Now, be sure you leave in all prompts and directions that are from the template, because your evaluators know that template, and that those are things they look for. They'll look for task 1 and the narrative. They'll look for task 2, so on and so forth. So you're going to make sure that it flows consecutively. Now, I have noticed in some of your writing, I think some of you may have an extra space after a paragraph. You just need to go in there and make sure that everything is double spaced. Everything. There should not be extra spaces in between the tasks. There should not be extra spaces in between your sections, nor should there be extra spaces in between your reference entries. So we are looking, when we look at all your APSL tasks 1 through 5, we look at format predominantly making sure you've got everything in there. But we do look at format this time, and we want to make sure that everything is the best it can possibly be before you go to turn it in and before you go to the evaluator. So your references should be combined into one comprehensive reference section that is alphabetized. Your appendices should be combined together. And of course, those are not numbered, those are with letters. And be sure that when you reference that appendix entry in your text, that it's the same as what you've put in your appendices. Make sure you align everything properly, double space. I've already gone over that. And remember, we are shooting for accomplished. You have to get proficient, which is a 3, but we shoot for accomplished on everybody. And Dr. Stedman and I do a little competition to see who has the most accomplished work. But we celebrate all work from proficient 3 to 4. Now, if you get below a 3, and you can get below a 3 on one task, then you have to reach out to Dr. Hamilton to see what's going on, and you have to revise and resubmit the whole task. Every task has to be at least a 3. So you are going to do the combining, and you need to start work on that at least by this evening or tomorrow. And you're going to submit it to us for review. We will review it. If we see anything wrong with format or missing work or anything like that that jumps out at us, we're going to tell you about it and give you a chance to resubmit it to us. But most of the time, if you will follow these steps, you really shouldn't have any problem. But just take your time. Make sure you're pulling from your final work and
And
not.
Dr. Revis, and I talked with a student today. I told him to go back, be careful, because you've saved a lot of, for task 1, you've saved your initial copies, your review copies, so sometimes 2 or 3 times. Honestly, you need to get rid of all of them, delete all of them except your final that has been finally approved, because when you combine this, you can accidentally put the wrong one in there. And I know those are mistakes, but that will help you not make that mistake if you'll go ahead and delete those things that you no longer need, before you start combining it. It's just a simple click and delete, and you know that. So,
Okay, any questions on what you need to do to combine all your AAPSL work and submit it to us for review?
and Dr. Revis, this can be found on your agenda, but it can also be found under the APSL resources and materials. You can find this same document there to refer to. Um, just remember, um, just remember that for each of the 5 tasks, and especially tasks 1 through 4, that and some people had uh, a reference section for task 5. I had a few that, or 1 or 2 that had that. You combine all of your reference sections into one comprehensive reference section at the end, and the same thing with your appendices in order. So those are the 2 things that you will extract from each of your tasks, and you will put them, into just combined documents at the end in the same order that you did it with the task. Somebody had raised their hand for a question.
Danielle?
Danielle?
Yes. So I may have missed it if you said it, but number 1 cover page with your name only, is this different than the cover page we've been using?
No, it's the same one, except it'll just have, the AAPTEL, and it won't, with the same one.
Mm-hmm.
You put your cover page there and the school profile. Those are the first 2 things that you put in, and then you start with the task.
And remember, within your text, your figure numbers have to run consecutively. Now, a lot of you did that anyway, but the figures run first figures figure 1. If the number 6 falls in task 2, it starts number 6 and it goes consecutively all the way through to the end of your APSL.
And the same thing with appendices. It's Appendix A, Appendix B, Appendix C. You go down the alphabet, with those as well. So, and they should be, whatever they are, when you combine them, should be, the reviewer should be able to go back and it should be in place in your document. So make sure that they match. Okay.
Any other questions?
Remember, now, Dr. Revis and I have evaluated you. We've given feedback, and we're going to, at a minimum, we're going to make sure that you're at proficient. So I feel comfortable, Dr. Revis, and sometimes we don't know about the evaluators, but sometimes we have had, Dr. Hamilton, have we not? We've had some that surprised us. So, we've got you where we feel like you are, but, there may be surprises. They may see something that we didn't see or whatever. But you should go back and you should, let me minimize this. And I want to go back. This is in your, the AAPSL resources. Go back and look at this before you do a final submission and check each of the tasks out, task 1 through 5, and make sure that you are comfortable, that you have, to the best of your ability, that you've done everything under accomplished and you feel comfortable with it. If you feel like you haven't, then, now's the time for you to make that edit if you feel like you need to. However, if you do decide to do that, Dr. Revis, I probably would want to see it, wouldn't you? Before, don't do that without us knowing that you've done that, and refer us to what we need to go back and specifically look at. But this, most people don't do this, but we're just giving you this one last opportunity, because once we say submit to the Turnitin process, there's no turning back unless there are issues with Turnitin.
Megan, you have a question?
Yeah, so with the figures and the appendices, do those go together? Like one comes first and then the figures come, or do the figures stay where they are within the task?
Figures stay where they are within the text.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about Turnitin, because if we get these, we're going to start reviewing them as soon as you turn this in. And we're going to say you are ready to upload to Turnitin. You have a Dropbox for Turnitin.
Okay, in Blackboard, let me show them where it is, Dr. Revis. Okay.
It's on down, I think.
On down. Yeah.
Right there it is.
Here they are. Okay. Yeah, right after where you're combining 1 through 5 for our review, the next one. And again, do not touch this until we tell you that it's ready to be touched.
But you will notice there, that's the Dropbox. You will not get a score. We get the scores. We get 2 scores. We get an originality report, and that looks for plagiarism, and we get an AI report. And of course, that looks for artificial intelligence, they suspect that's not your writing. Both of those reports have to be good, and we will email you, message you, and email you and tell you that everything looks good, you're ready to submit for final evaluation to your evaluator, or we will tell you there's a problem. And we will have to make arrangements to talk with you or get in touch with you. I usually like to talk you through it,
Right.
because now this doesn't happen often, but it has happened. But we'll either tell you that you've got an issue or you're ready to move on. But you will not receive Turnitin scores.
Right. So, and again, the report will come to us, and if there's a concern, we'll talk to you about it. If there's not a concern, all we'll do is just say, submit to Taskstream for evaluation. Now, I'm going to show you something in just a second. Once you submit to Taskstream for evaluation, it's completely out of Dr. Revison and my hands then. It goes to the anonymous evaluator. Then you will get a score back, and if everything's good, then what you will do a screenshot of that score, and this is where you will place that screenshot, and this is just proof that you are completely through with the work for the AAPSL. So this is where you would just put you just do a screenshot and then put it in there. But I want to show you something else. Once we tell you tonight, once you have put the 5 tasks together, and Dr. Revison tells you that it's ready for Turnitin, and once you go through the Turnitin process, then we'll say submit to Taskstream for evaluation. I'm looking for, okay, here it is. Under peer review resources, you see this video and document library for Taskstream. Click on that. And I want you to look here, how to upload a completed evidence for evaluation in Taskstream. Now, sometimes when I click on that, a commercial will come up. If it does, go out of it and click until Dr. Lamb comes on there. Let me see if it'll do it now. What it's going to do. Not yeah. So that's what comes up the first time. So I click out of it, and it's still doing that. Sometimes you just have to get past those commercials. I don't know why. Hope it does it this time. Well, anyway, that is where you go and just click out of the commercials until, I don't know why. You
just have to run the commercial.
Right, you may have to do that. But anyway, this is where Dr. Lamb is about a three-minute video. He shows you step by step how to submit to Taskstream. Very, very easy, step by step. If you have run into problems and you need to see that, you can probably go into Taskstream, and most of you are savvy enough that you can follow the steps that way. But if you have problem, this is where you go. And like I said, it will open up, because it's opened up for me today several times, but I have to get past the commercials to do that. And when Dr. Hamilton, she's probably got this in her course shell already, but in case you don't have it, this is also how to upload artifacts in your Taskstream Competency Folio, if you just another place for that as well. So I'm going to stop share for a moment. Okay. Any questions at this point? Does everybody know what you've got to do to combine tasks 1 through 5? If you do, give us a thumbs up. Or you think you understand the process. Okay. And again, it's very simple. Just you'll have to work through it, like some have already done it. So it's a very simple process. I don't think you'll have a problem with it. Do you understand what you've got to do once we tell you task 1 through 5 are cleared and we say submit to Turnitin? Does everybody know where you go and what to do with that? Okay. And I haven't had anybody to do Turnitin yet, Dr. Revis, so I'm praying that it works. If for some reason it doesn't, we'll fix it. So don't, just let us know if for some reason there's a problem there. And sometimes we've had to in the past to go back, take it out and put it back in there. It should work, but if there's a reason, we'll fix it. So don't worry about that. Just let us know. And then once you get through with task, turn it in, and you're cleared, we'll say, if it's ready, we'll say submit to Taskstream for evaluation. Do you know where to go to be able to know what that process is? You know where to look for the resources, and know how to figure out what to do in Taskstream. Does everybody know where I told you to go? Okay, Dana has a question.
Go ahead, Dana.
On one of the documents for combining AAPSL's task 1 through 5, it says that the cover page should have our name only. Do we still keep that first page that has like the AAPSL? So we do an additional page, or we just put our name on that one?
Put your name on that one.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because it said was cover page with your name only, so I didn't.
You keep the cover page that comes with the template and put your name at the bottom. So I would love for my class to have tasks 1 through 5 combined and in the review drop box by Friday.
Okay, and I would too.
That gives me an opportunity. As soon as you get it done, get it to me.
Right.
I've already had 2. And as soon as we do that, the next couple steps go real quickly. As soon as you upload to Turnitin, we're going to get a score within about 5 minutes. Now, I'm not going to sit at my computer waiting on it, okay? But I will try to check it over the weekend periodically, more than I usually do. And as soon as you get an acceptable score, and I will message you through the internal message in our course shell. That's where you can look for it. And as soon as we do that, then you need to go ahead and submit it for evaluation. Do not sit on it. Do not sit on it. Evaluators are expecting those submissions by Sunday.
Right. We had a faculty meeting on Monday, and we have already told Dr. Stone that those would be submitted this weekend. So he has made the outside evaluators, he's made them aware.
Okay.
Okay, so they'll be looking for your work. Okay.
Any questions about how to finish up and get everything submitted to your state evaluator?
And see, after you get through this step, you'll be experts at it. And for the next 4 evidences that you've got to do, it'll be second nature to you because you will have done it. Okay. Remember, your case study 1 for the AAPSL is due this week. So you need to make, if you haven't done already, I think one team I know has already done theirs in my class. But if you haven't done that, you need to make plans to get that done, and that has to be to us by Sunday night as well. Are there any questions about what Dr. Revis and my expectations are for this? Now, don't take this assignment lightly. This is a major assignment for us because it really, it's also a culminating activity for the work you've done with the AAPSL, and we need to hear a lot of the language that we're looking for, as Dr. Revis pointed out last week, the research. We need to hear you talk the talk and walk the walk. That's what we're looking for. So are there any questions about what you're supposed to do with the case study this week? Any questions? Okay.
I want to go back just a minute.
Shania raised her hand.
Yes, so the 4 paragraphs that we write to answer questions, we're not turning those paragraphs in, correct? That's just to
Correct.
guide us in the meeting.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And sometimes people do, it doesn't really matter, but that we don't need to see them. We're listening and looking for that evidence when you are doing your conversations with each other.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Revis, you were saying something else?
Well, I don't remember what it was at this point, but I've had a senior moment.
Okay.
I know what it was. I want you to celebrate your work that you've done this semester. When you put all those 5 tasks together and number them, you're going to have 75 to 100 pages of work. It will be amazing for you to see that huge amount of work. Celebrate the work that you've done because it's been very, very good work. I'm very pleased.
And Dr. Evans, I want to tell you, and this is not demeaning any administration or whatever. Already, every one of you are at a point that you already have done much more than your principals even know what to do. Some of your principals, they don't know. So a lot of your principals don't know this stuff. And I know what I'm talking about. I see it all the time. You are already empowered in ways that you can't even imagine, above and beyond people that are working in your school are. So, you're getting there. We've gotten you to a level, and we're going to take you to the next level when we get to the AAPTEL. Okay, but yes, Dr. Reva said it. You've come a long ways in just a short period of time. And we told you this would happen if you would stick with us, and you did. And we thank you for that. Dr. Hamilton, we're going to wait on the AAPTEL until after you get through this time and not make you wait until last. So we're going to turn it over to Dr. Hamilton at this time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am going to just click on one of those right there, and I'll share my screen in just a second. So again, you can get to my shell through Blackboard. You'll go to your 698 class. You should have 2 on there. So this coming Wednesday, let's just go to the Blackboard shell. So when we go to the calendar, tonight, so last week you had the communication artifact due. Tonight you had 4 artifacts due. And when you go to your calendar, you'll see the 4, change management, conflict, creative thinking, and delegation. And then next week, let's just look ahead at that for the 12th of March. And we do have class next week. We don't have class. We do have class next week, Dr. Stedman. Do we not? Dr. Stedman?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay. I had down it was the 26th we didn't have class for some reason. Well, I shouldn't have said all that out loud. Sorry, I apologize. Okay, that is leadership mistake number 101. Don't ever say anything like that out loud. Okay, forget about that. Regardless, next week you're going to submit your midpoint internship log hours. So that's going to be 100 hours. You're going to submit that on your form, and you are going to have your administrator sign that. Your name will be on that, the school name, and you'll have those hours totaled. So where you're going to put that is you're going to go to Taskstream. And Dana, I'm sorry, I'm just going to use you as an example right here, but you're going to go to Taskstream. You're going to scroll, when you go to Taskstream, you're going to go to Folios and Web Pages to your Competency Folio. You're going to scroll all the way down, and underneath the 21 competencies, you are going to see a link right here that says Internship Logs. So you'll go right there to Internship Logs. You will upload your first 100 hours there, and then you'll label that Spring 2025 midpoint or midterm internship log. And so you'll upload that there, and you'll request comments from me, just like you have been requesting comments everywhere from your competencies that you have been submitting. So you will go to Taskstream, Folios and Web Pages, and then you will go all the way to the bottom of that list where you will find internship logs, And then you will upload your internship log there, just like you've been uploading your artifacts and things for us in this process. So that is where your internship log will go. So that should be easy for you. Also next week, typically what happens is we assign all 12 of the first 12 competencies, the same ones that you've completed in task 5 of the AAPSL. We assign all 12 like for next week, but we have broken that up. So you did 1 this week, 4 were due. So now next week, 7 are due. Most of you have done all the ones that were already required. So most of you have already done 5. So you will have 7 for next week. If you didn't get that done, then you'll go ahead and make sure all 12 are in for next week. But the 7 that are due next week are organizational ability, personal responsibility for performance, systems thinking, time management, customer focus, personal ethics and value, and results orientation. And please note that, like, for example, in results orientation, when you go there and you've been labeling everything AAPSL, and I have put that on there for you, like AAPSL, so you would know. But like when you go to results orientation, please note that the AAPSL is not one of the evidences that is asked for. So when you do results orientation, you're going to be labeling that as spring 2025 open-ended. So you will not put AAPSL there. I can see that somebody has their hands raised, but I don't know who. So just unmute.
Okay, it's Jacob and J Unique.
So, question that I may just misunderstand for hours. I just have my administrator sign off on the completed hours log and don't show the itemized list. Is that correct?
No, you're going to have your itemized list. You're going to turn in your list that you've been keeping.
How do I then upload that which you signed with it looking professional? Where I don't take a picture.
About that.
You'll just scan the document and upload it.
Yes, scan it, scan the document, and upload it.
Okay, J Unique.
Hi, good evening. It's Janique.
Unique, okay.
Yes. I'm looking at the calendar and it says the mid-semester internship log is due on Sunday the 9th by 6 p.m. and it's also on Wednesday the 12th. So I just want to make sure I don't that I have it together unless that's 2 different things.
Thank you for finding that. We are going to just leave that on Wednesday the 12th to give you a little extra time. I'll take the other one off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for finding that, Janique.
And Dr. Hamilton, I figured out what I did when I was doing the agenda. It's a look at week 8 responsibilities. I was just looking at that 8 that I had just typed and accidentally put week 8 down there. That should be week 9 is GWU's scheduled spring break. And I know that's what happened.
So what is the date of that?
Okay. It would be week after next, wouldn't it? Okay.
Well, friends, we're doing the best we can.
Okay.
So
Spring
you
break
said
is
you
next
said that
week.
week 9 is spring break, Dr. Stedman?
That's what I thought y'all just said it was.
Well, that's
Spring
what
break is next week for Gardner Webb.
For day, it's week 8, isn't it? So I did have it right. Okay, I just want to make sure that I didn't mess up.
I don't know why I thought it was. I don't know. I'm sorry. Again, this is the worst leadership example in the world. I should just be having this question
That's okay.
in the background.
I just wanted to them
I
to
just,
understand and know.
Well, let's put it this way. We're going to observe next week at
Okay.
spring break.
Let's
no,
just-
you're right. You're right, Dr. Revis. It's week 8.
Okay.
Mhm.
So disregard anything that's been said and follow the
Sorry, that was
schedule as
terrible.
we've got.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
That's
yes. I
good.
don't know where I got
Cool.
that, but okay. Yep, that's right.
Okay.
And then for the 7 competencies that you will be turning in next week to finish up that APSL piece of it, if you go into this week's week and you click on that, you will find a list of those 7. If you click on each of those, you'll find a brief description of each one of them and some ideas and things for potential artifacts if you need some ideas for that. Just like I had for last week for the 4 for this week and then the one before that. So that is a resource for you that you can use there. Are there any questions?
Okay. Okay, good.
Thanks.
I think they're experts already, just about.
I think they
Dr.
are.
Hamilton. Okay.
They're doing great on their competency folio.
And
I have to say, we've never, I said that a few minutes ago, we've never broken it up like this. We've always just assigned all 12 on one week. And this way they've really had the opportunity. They did 1, so they got feedback, right? Then they've done 4 in feedback. So what's coming in is so much better because what would historically happen is people would do like all 12 because that's how we had it assigned. And then, like, just little nuances of things that needed to be fixed, and they have to go back and fix all 12. Well, that's just time consuming for everyone, right? So,
but,
yeah, that more
thank
immediate
you.
feedback.
That's a great
Okay.
idea, Dr. Hamilton. I'm glad you
and
tried that.
Right, and Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Evans and I have already said that if we are, if we have the role of being a CC2 this summer or next
Whenever.
summer, we're going to follow this same format. So we're going to borrow from you.
Yeah,
So
it's
It's,
better.
it's
we like-
overwhelming for us to try to read through all those at the same time, too.
It is. So this is better, and it's just better.
Let me pull this. Dr.
Revis.
Dr. Ravis, yes, whoever you are. Have you got that document pulled up?
I do. I
Okay.
can share it.
Okay, go ahead. And
It says you need to stop share.
okay. Okay, got
Somebody
it.
does.
Got it. It's me.
Okay, guys, after you do all of your work, after you finish submitting your APSL to the state evaluator, after you get all of Dr. Hamilton's work done, then we want you to focus on the APSL. Okay, excuse me, APTEL. APTEL. I'm sorry. I tell you, I'm off tonight for some reason. I need spring break next week. So what we did, the biggest difference between the APSL that you finished or finishing and the APTEL is now your focus is on teachers, teacher leadership within the classroom and throughout the school. So again, for the APTEL, your focus is teachers. Whereas
What does that acronym stand for, Dr. Revis?
I have no idea. Teachers empowerment and leadership is the last.
Analysis and action plan for teacher empowerment and leadership.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
it's okay.
this
It's
is
a
about
lot.
teacher empowerment and leadership, and the leadership is twofold. We're looking at leadership in the classroom and leadership outside of the classroom school-wide. So you only have 4 tasks for the APTEL. Okay? The first task that you can get started on is completing some research. And you can do all of this and front load yourself because it is a lot of research. But we're going to ask you to complete research first. Then we're going to ask you to collect data by surveys and walkthroughs in your school. We're going to ask you to do the research, collect data, And then you're going to look at the difference between what the research says should be done and what is actually happening in your school. And then you're going to lead your PLC to develop another action plan. This one about teacher leadership and empowerment. And then task 4 is going to be your reflections again. Okay? You reflect on the remaining 9 competencies. Remember, if you take nothing else from this class, remember when you become a school leader, before you start taking off and deciding to do something for improvement, you always, always, always look at what the research says and collect the current state of your data. That's always where you start. Then you compare the two, find your gaps, and that gives you information to develop an action plan. An action plan that's evidence-based in research and evidence-based in your data. So that's what we're going to focus on. Again, I like this task. It's an authentic task that you would do as a principal, about your leadership and empowerment in your school. So with that said, let me stop share, and we're only going
leave it there for just a second.
Okay.
Look at AAPTEL task 1. Pretty much that's you. That's you doing the research. You're really, there's no reason to meet with PLC at that point. Task 2, I would meet with them. I would meet with my team. I would let them know, what they're being challenged with, to help you with the AAPTEL. And I would probably be prepared and go over some of the work that you're doing. Actually, that could be a short PLC and then a longer PLC as they need to know what you're doing. And then when you come back, they can help you look at the data and identifying the gaps. And then your biggie is going to be task 3, getting it ready. And then, the presentation is a big presentation you have to do with that. But actually, a lot of this work is going to be you. You do have to lead some, but it's going to be a lot on you.
Again, I think you're correct on task 1. It's just you doing the research.
Right.
And identifying a checklist and survey, and we'll get into all that. But you will have to meet with your PLC twice, task 2 and task 3, at least, at a minimum.
Right. Dr. Revis, if you'll stop sharing, I want to pull up the helpful hints document. And again, when you go to your Blackboard, just like you had the AAPSL resources, the template and the resources, you've got the same thing for the AAPTEL. Now this time, remember for the AAPSL, we gave you a completed AAPSL to look at. But you do not get a completed AAPTEL to look at, but it follows the same process. You're more on your own this time. You are not doing any peer reviews this time. We need to see what you can do without being able to look at other work that's being done. So you're much more independent this time. But as Dr. Revis has said, in education, we begin with the child in mind. So we began with the students in mind when we did the AAPSL. And always remember, it follows this hierarchy. Teachers teach students. And basically, principals teach teachers, or they lead teachers. So your role at this time is going to be as an administrator working with and leading teachers in your school. It's not your job to teach students. It's your job as the leader to know that your teachers are empowered to lead in that classroom with the students you've assigned them to, and to lead outside the classroom as applicable. So that is what this whole process is about. You're going to use the same, you're going to have a new cover sheet, but it's going to be evidence 2 instead of evidence 1, and your name here. That's the only thing that goes on that. And then you're going to use the same school profile unless something has changed and you're not at the same place that you were when you're doing evidence 2 or doing evidence 1, and you need to let us know that. The first task has 2 prompts. And the first part of it is the literature review. You're going to provide a literature review for each of 5 identified sections. Now, you've done a little bit with the first one already. You did a little bit of, with efficacy with your work with the AAPSL, but you're going to take it much deeper in the AAPTEL. You're looking at teacher efficacy and the impact it has on their leadership and everything in the classroom. Your focus was on student achievement in the AAPSL. This is specifically with teachers. You asked the question, can I go back and use what I did before? No, we want new stuff. However, I probably would still make reference to Bandura, who is the seminal researcher in this. And again, you must have a minimum of 3 references. Since you've used Bandura already, I can say you can reference him, but we would like to see 3 different references other than Bandura in here, and reference back to Bandura as well. So I guess that would be a total of 4 resources for your work with building efficacy. And again, this is not what you think, it's what the research says. And what is building efficacy as it relates to empowering teachers in your school, staff in your school? That's what you're looking for, teacher efficacy. Dr. Revis, anything else on that?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, if you'll take the next one, Dr. Revis.
Okay, I'm not seeing your screen.
You're not seeing my screen. You know why? Because I don't know what tonight is. I guess it's
You need a spring break too.
I need spring break too. I didn't share. So let me know if I'm back in the playing field now. Can you see it now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's go back up. Just again, I'm not going to go over everything, but this is task 1, prompt 1, and everybody heard what I had to say about building efficacy. Do I need to repeat anything? But this is where you find
Dr. Stedman, can they use some of their resources they used in building in efficacy in the AAPSL?
I told them no.
Okay.
Because other than Bandura, but I still want to see 3 different references there, and I'll tell you why. Because you're looking at efficacy from a different perspective. You're looking at teacher leadership and empowerment and teacher efficacy. So you need to look at it from a different perspective when you're doing your research this time.
But we do want to see Bandura there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Hey, Dr. Revis, number 2.
All right, number 2 is about results-oriented professional development. This is not about what you do in your school. Remember, all of these are what the research says results-oriented professional development should look like. Now, I'm going to give you a couple authors. We want to see Darling Hammond, Linda Darling Hammond. Of course, you're going to call her Hammond et al. That's one of the references you must have. You see it up there in the first sentence in that section, according to Hamilton et al. And that one we must see. There are other researchers who are well known for their work in professional learning and professional development. Gusky is a good one. I think they're, I don't know,
Look at there,
Hattie is,
Dr. Revis.
Yeah,
What is that last one?
Yep, that's your textbook. So again, we must see Hammond, Darling Hammond, in that section. Again, this is about what the research says. It's not about what you think. It's not about what you do in your school.
Dr. Revis, why is Darling Hammond so important?
Well, she is the seminal author, as far as I'm concerned, researcher on professional development. A lot of the work of Gusky is built off of her work. So, what you may find that she has done may seem a little old to you, but she's considered the seminal researcher.
And there are some much more relevant to today, to 2025. But and you could, I would say, I would encourage you to use, some of the most recent. But like Dr. Revis said, start with where the experts, where she really modeled what professional development should be effectively in the schools. Okay, your third heading is, and again, a minimum of 3 references with what Dr. Revis was talking about. Your heading is recruitment, placement, and mentoring of school staff. Now, this is, as a principal, that is one of your most important responsibilities, finding teachers that you know are a right fit for your school, that know their pedagogy, that you know that you can work with, that will follow your leadership, and will work with your students, because the ultimate goal is that they're supposed to teach your students so that they can achieve in life and help grow the academics and the progress in your school as it relates to academics. Not only do you recruit them, you've got to place them. You've got to find the right place for them. Again, and you may put a teacher in first grade when you hire them the first year, but you realize that they may not be in the best place. You've got to have what it takes to be able to move that teacher based on where you feel like that they are going to be most effective in your school. And then you not only mentor your staff, you provide others that can mentor them as well. Again, this is not what you think. What does the research have to say about recruitment of teachers in your school? Placing them, what does the research say about the proper placement? And what does it say about mentoring them and working with them? Now, Dr. Revis, I would much rather have a mediocre teacher that I can work with than have somebody that knows everything and doesn't want to listen to a word I say.
Oh, definitely.
So
Definitely.
you've got to hone your craft in leadership to be able to recognize and identify who you know will best fit the dynamics of your school.
And
Anything
I'm
else,
hoping
Dr.
that as
Evans?
I'm hoping as you come out, coming up to the spring and early summer, when your principal starts interviewing prospective staff members, that you will engage yourself in those interviews, because you can count that on your clinical work, and that doesn't come naturally. You have to learn the craft of interviewing. It's a big responsibility. Making a new hire, it's huge. Dr. Hamilton can tell you all about it. She's done it every day, and she now is in the district level doing it. And if you just fill a position just to fill a position, you'll spend more time with problems and trying to get them to move on. So don't just fill a position just to fill a position. What authors do we want to see here? We're going to leave this one open, Dr.
But I want them to understand. And when I did my dissertation, I used Ingersoll a lot back in the day, but he's very relevant still.
Okay.
So, or they are very relevant still. So Ingersoll has been used in this research pretty much. So I know Ingersoll is somebody good to look at, but there's do your research and then look at I don't know of any seminal researchers in this that they need to specifically hone in on,
But Ingersoll's a good one. He's got a lot
he
of
he
things
has
out there.
done.
Now, guys, this section's a big section. You
It
got
is.
3 big topics here:
Right.
recruitment, placement, and mentoring. Again, and I know you're tired of hearing me say this, but I'm going to say it again. This is not about what your school does. This is what the research says.
Okay.
And the next heading is approaches to or for evaluation of school staff. Now, what we do not want is we do not want you to reiterate what your school district or state requires for evaluation. We want to know what the research says should comprise of a solid approach to evaluation. You should put things in here. I should see something about walkthroughs. Those are not really evaluative, but they can be, and they definitely give you a feel for the day-to-day operation of what's happening in your school. Now, here is an author you must have, Marzano. He is, in fact, at one point, I don't know if he still does, his work is what our North Carolina teacher evaluation system was based on. So again, we don't want to know what you do in your school or in the school district. We want to know what the research says are approaches for evaluation of your teachers.
Okay, and number 5, the last of the 5, teacher leadership and decision making.
And this one again, 3 references, and your seminal researcher here in teacher leadership and decision making is Todd Whitaker. Right there, right out of the gate. I want to see him. We must see him
Right.
in this. And in fact, we're going to use some of his work in TAT later on. Well, we'll use it in prompt 2, won't we? But he's the seminal researcher, but you've got to have 3 other references. Again, this is what the research says. So you've got a lot of writing and research that you can do after you finish all your work for the AAPSL and all your work for Dr. Hamilton. You need to get started in this research and writing.
Dr. Revis, you want us to hold off on the checklist and survey until they come back that week, or do you want us to mention it to them?
Let's get you want to talk about task 2, guys, or you just want to stop? I will just say, if we don't talk about it, don't do anything with it, okay?
It won't take, there'll be some that will want to. Let's just take 5 minutes and do it, and then we'll be through.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Prompt
Now,
2 is, now notice all you're doing is creating for prompt 2. All you're doing is creating, and we've just about done half of the work for you.
you don't really create, you just use, right?
You just use. I want you to know you're going to do a checklist and a survey. Now, if your school does a walkthrough, if your school already has a walkthrough instrument, that's what you will use here.
For your checklist.
For your checklist. If your school does not have a walkthrough instrument, we're going to give you a checklist, and you do not deviate from this checklist. You use this checklist for the purposes of this class and this project. Dr. Revis, go ahead and talk about that right now.
So you're going to really do 2 things. The checklist is an instrument you're going to identify to look at leadership in the classroom. You're going to go in and look at instructional practices, okay? Again, as just Dr. Stedman has said, If you use a walkthrough checklist at your school, use that one. If not, I think the checklist is scroll on down.
Yeah.
This is the survey.
The survey. And here's the check. Here it is.
The
Using-
checklist is based
ahead.
on Marzano's high yield strategies. Now, if you have your own walkthrough checklist that's used at your school or in your district, you use that. If you don't, this is the checklist you will use. And you will just go in and you will observe 3 to 5 classrooms, and you by yourself or with your administrator will check yes or no on each of these instructional high yield strategies. So all you do in prompt two of this task, you just identify a checklist.
Yeah, you're not doing anything with it. You're submitting it. When you submit task 1 of the AAPTEL for instructor review, because you're not doing peer review, you're just getting our approval, or we're telling you, if you don't have one, this is what you use.
Don't create one.
Don't create one. If you do have one, we do want you to use what your school and district has approved to be used in the district. So
the checklist, again, is about teacher leadership in the classroom. Then you have a survey. The
And Dr. Revis,
survey,
everybody's going to do the same survey.
yes,
What you
everybody does
see
this same survey.
is what you're going to use.
And this is to get a read on their beliefs or perceptions of teacher leadership outside of the classroom. Okay? Again, you don't administer it in task 1, you just identify it.
And Dr. Revis, notice there's only 5 questions that you're going to include in the survey. Can I do Survey Monkey? No. Can I do one through any other type of survey that you can use? No. You will be told how to do Qualtrics. Qualtrics is what Gardner-Webb requires. It's a very simple process. We're only introducing you really to the process. It's not rocket science, and you won't be using it again in our class. You may have to use it with some of the research you do later on. But with Qualtrics, you have to have approval that your instrument has been approved by the Gardner-Webb University to go out to be a survey. Dr. Revis and I will say this, and that's why everybody's going to do this, because we know that this is going to be approved, but we're going to take you through the process. But we'll show you that when we come back week 9. We'll show you how to do Qualtrics at that time. Again, it's not a hard process, but we'll walk you through it. But everybody will use this. And Dr. Revis, I think that's enough, because we can talk to them about how they're to put this together when we come back on the night. But I felt like they needed to know where we were going, and what would be expected. Now you're going to use this. You're going to use this checklist, and you're going to use this survey when you get to task 2. So there'll be a quick turnaround with this. So we'll actually show you all that when we come back on week 9. We'll show you all of that. And there'll be a quick turnaround on this. But your work that we've talked about today, this will actually not be due until you come back for task 1, until that Sunday that we come back on week 9. It's just giving you an opportunity to think about getting started.
Right. Really, the only thing you need to focus on is that research you've got to do in task in
Right.
prompt 1. This is easy, because you're either going to use, everybody's going to use a survey, but you're either going to use the checklist we provide you to do your walkthroughs or your school walkthrough. So there's not really a lot you'll have to finish doing after we get back, after you do prompt 1?
Your APA and formatting is going to be very important, and we'll go over that with you after next week. But I know that there's many of you that will want to. The main thing is, I would get my research done if I possibly could, because that is what's going to be the most time consuming, as you're beginning your work with the AAPTEL. Okay, Megan.
So you said it's due the Sunday of the week 9. Is that the 16th or the 23rd?
No, whatever when we come back next week, it's not due next week, because
Okay.
you will be submitting all of Dr. Hamilton's work next week.
Okay.
It will be due at the end of the next week.
Okay. Thank you.
You will see us again face to face before you have to, by the end of that week. Okay.
Now, I know that many of you think, oh, I could use a break too. I understand that. And you're not going to have to meet with your PLC. But please don't take a break. Please get this research done. Okay?
And it gives you a chance, if you'll use this time, it gives you a chance without, when we do come back, because the week after we tell you that this task 1 is due, the next week is going to be a very, very busy. 2 weeks after that are going to be very, very busy. So you need to get as much of this behind you so that you can concentrate completely on the practical work that you've got to do when you have to actually do the survey, and when you have to actually do the walkthroughs, and actually you've got to do some interviews, some interviews, and we'll talk to you about that qualitative research that you've got to do as well during that time. So there's a lot of moving pieces with what you've got to do once you get past this research. Okay. But again, finish up what you've got to do for Dr. Revis and me to get the AAPSL behind you. Complete Dr. Hamilton's work, then concentrate on what we've talked about with the AAPTEL. Put it in that order, okay? Everybody good?
Dr. Stedman,
Yes.
would you recap the verbiage that we need to have for our case study when you're looking on the Zoom?
Okay, Dr. Revis, have you got that? Can you pull that up, Dr. Revis, or you want me to?
I don't think I'm signed in, Dr.
Okay.
Edmund.
Okay, give me a second. Let's go back and find it. Okay. Okay. Remember, it's under assignments for grade. Okay. Here it is. AAPSL case study.
Salita, tell us exactly what you need here.
So I know there was some talk about using laws, using research, trying to just make sure that I know exactly what you expect us to cover when we're responding.
Okay, I know what she's referring to, Dr. Ray. We said that these are not your opinions. That, as you're analyzing this case study, after you've done your 4 questions and you've read it and analyzed, you're looking at the principle, and you're going to, when you talk about what the principal should or should not do, how they can make change, you've got to make sure that you're basing that on what school policy is, what school law is, what the law is. It can't be what you think. Does that make sense? And that's what we're looking for. And we said to also include in there from your readings that you've done with Ubben and all, and those other textbooks, include the language from those and from the research that you may have done, as you were doing the AAPSL. That's what we're talking about. Does that
Yeah,
answer your?
and also
It does.
and
Okay.
from my perspective, I want to hear, I'm okay with hearing, I think James should have done a process very similar to what we did in the APSL, such as you can talk about the process of the APSL as well, because it's a research-based process, and you
Right.
can talk about some of the research that you did in the APSL to support your thoughts on those 4 questions, building your case for those 4 questions.
Thank you, Dr. Revis.
Okay. Any other? That was a good question, though. Who was I talking? Salita. Thank you for that. Any other questions before we sign off? Now, in the meantime, as you are working through getting the APSL ready for the final, if there's something that arises up, don't make a careless error or a foolish mistake. You reach out to us. Reach out to one of your peers in your team if you need to, but don't do something because and say, "Oh, I'm scared I'll bother them," or I don't want to do it. I would rather you bother me than to mess up. Dr. Revis would too. Okay,
Most definitely.
you're not bothering me. I'm just saying, in your mind, that's what you're thinking. But I would rather you take the time to reach out to us and let us help you than to make a mistake that we can't correct. Okay, so let's don't make it hard on yourself. Everybody good?
Guys, hope you have a spring break. I hope it's not as busy as it's been before and you get a little breather, but don't just stop working, okay? And Tonette, if you don't mind, can we talk just a minute?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Good night.